Yo, welcome to Big Ox and Pirates America, man. This is episode number 3. Why does that? I got episode 2 in the title. My bad, Joe.
Yeah,
I'm
you
sorry.
got the wrong title. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm tripping. What's going on with that? Anyways, anyways, y'all know this is episode 3. Had a lot going on last week, man. Could not make that show, but we're back here to give y'all, everything politics. You know what I'm saying? Y'all already know we're gonna drop the link. We want y'all to come up, ask some questions, give your takes. We want y'all to be actively involved in this show. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to just be up here yapping, going back and forth. We want to hear from the people. We want questions from the people. We want to get grilled. We want to get pressed about our political thoughts. And we're going to press back. You know what I'm saying? This is not the place to come and be shy and be politically correct. You come up here and say how you feel. Say, what do you want from your government? What do you want from America? What do you expect from your next president? What do you want? Has your government failed you to this point, or is this the best land in the world? Is this the home of the free, the land of the brave? I know one thing. This is Big Ox and Pirates America. Pirate, what's going on, man?
Man, that was an energetic little intro there, man. Looks like you're well rested from the week off and ready to roll. And yeah, I just echo that sentiment. Let's go hardball. Rated R is rated R politics, or rated. Fuck it, rated X politics.
Yeah, no doubt. Pirate, I want to start off today, and I want to ask you about something. I know I kind of brought it up last time, but I want to double down on it, and I want to really give my sentiments about something. And I want to ask, how do you feel about this? And should I continue to spread this message? Because honestly, Pirate,
free country.
I'm gonna tell you the truth.
I mean, I might call you a weirdo, but yeah, it's free country. You know, say what you want.
I'm gonna be the one to say it, and I've been saying this for a while now. I'm with right now with this particular instance, what's been going on. We need to take a step back and keep our votes to ourselves. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, you're still on the no vote train. All right.
Yeah, no, they don't deserve our vote. They still haven't proven to me that they deserve my vote. And I just feel like we have the right to exercise our vote. With that being said, we have the right to withhold our votes and not give it to people that don't deserve it.
No, that's fair enough. No, I mean, I can totally appreciate that too. You know, it is a two-party. It's not technically, but practically, it's a two-party system. And there's going to be a lot to be desired most of the time. Here's multifaceted answer. My base answer would be, you know, it's a free country. You can do what you want. I would suggest, though, to anyone listening and to you too, just go out and vote, because it is an important thing. Now listen to what I'm saying. Like, you don't have to vote for one of these two people. Right. All right. You could vote for a third party. You don't have to vote for a third party if you don't want to vote for anyone on the ballot. You could write in the name of a high school football coach that you admire. You could write in the name of a grandparent or your mother. Hell, you could write in your own name. Write in your own name, and you'll know that history will record that you got to vote for president. But no, I do think that you're not 35. Okay, well, yeah, write in the name of some human being you admire, you know. But I do think that you know, taking the time out of your day just to drop in, take part. Like I said, you don't have to vote for Democrat, Republican. I've voted third party before. You can write in the name of anybody, but just to take part in the process, because again, you know, human beings, we've been kicking it around on this planet for hundreds of thousands of years, and you know, we can take something like this for granted, even though it's not going to feel perfect, and a lot of times you're going to feel like you lost because you don't get what you want. But you know, I would say, you know, if nothing else, take the time out of your day, drop in, write your own name on the ballot, drop it in the box, and Ox. the other thing is, every election, it's not just going to be president. Everyone, you're gonna have some local propositions to vote on.
Yep.
There'll be Senate races for some people, depending on what the cycle is in your state at any particular time. You got your Congress, so it's not just president. Like each election, there are a lot of things, and you don't have to vote for everything. If you don't feel informed on everything, maybe you cast a vote for like one or two propositions that make sense to you.
Right. That's that's definitely a fact. So, Pirate, last episode, somebody left a comment and they wanted to get they had a question, and this is what we want from y'all. We want y'all to leave questions in the comment section so that we can answer questions now. The question
of the week.
Question of the week, yes, sir. This was basically a two-part question. The first part was do you have any positive or negative feelings or thoughts toward each candidate's presented policies specifically? Let me see. I actually have Kamala. It's hard to navigate these websites from these people. So
you can pull it up. We could kind of just navigate there.
Okay,
and
let me go ahead and share. I have Kamala Harris's website. It's Harrison Waltz. I have the website here. Multi Kenny. The link is for everybody. We want everybody to pull up and get involved, man. The link is for everybody. So you go ahead and feel free to click on that, bro. Probably won't pull you up for maybe the next 10 to 15, maybe 10 minutes, but go ahead and click on that whenever you want to, bro, for sure. Okay, so can y'all see that? Let me see. Okay, yeah. So here's Kamala's website.
All right.
Try, and go up here if you guys want to donate to the to her campaign. Feel free. So this is really just kind of running down like.
Yeah, I'm seeing history. I'm not seeing really much policy here. No. Right. So we're talking about policies that we like from either side. You got anything off the top of your head, Ox?
No, not really.
Click on that Harris Walls in the left corner there.
Thomas,
and close that down. Yeah, they're always asking for money. They're gonna be saying Tom's running now forever.
Crazy.
Yeah. So I think personally, what I find most interesting about Kamala Harris's website is, if you go up to the tabs on the top, you'll notice, a distinct lack of policy.
Right. You know what this looks like? This looks like a dating site. Like, here, get to know me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right? Yeah. Well, which is honestly what a lot of the DNC has been so far. Man, after I've watched about 15 hours of the DNC so far, and I need to start drinking more because. But you'll notice that it's so Kamala Harris, she's running for president, and she does not have an agenda or a platform on her website, and this is the first time I've seen that in history. So it's really hard to say that I agree with Kamala on anything because she really hasn't said anything. Now, she did release a partial some economic plans a couple days ago that we should definitely dive into because they are interesting, to say the least. But yeah, right now Kamala is very sparse on actual policy to agree with. If we go to the Donald Trump's,
I got his right here. About to pull it up.
Yeah, so I mean, with Trump, I agree with a few of the key. Yeah, so there's his agenda right there. It's Agenda 47.
Mm-hmm.
And then Yeah, he's got the quick little blurbs there, but then also I think there's a link you can click to get the detailed version. We don't need to go into the detailed version. That's like 20 pages. So we can just, go down the highlights.
It has 20 highlighted. I'll read them off. Fill the border and stop the migrant invasion. Carry out the Carry out the largest deportation operation in American history.
Yeah, how do you feel about that, Ox?
I think it can get, if it's done properly, and what I'm saying, it's not just a mass like rounding people up, get the hell out, like, what I'm saying, like if you're an American citizen, you've gone through the proper steps to become an American citizen. If you have a visa, green card, whatever it may be, like I don't want those people getting harassed. You know what I'm saying? I think that can be dangerous for our Latina brothers and sisters. I think that can be dangerous for them. I think it could be dangerous from our Middle Eastern brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying? I think it could be dangerous for them as well. And that's the only thing I fear about that. Now, if you are here illegally and you know what I'm saying, you're just not supposed to be here, haven't done the proper steps, I can't say I'm mad at it. You know what I'm saying? I think the border needs to be protected. I think the border needs to be enforced.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's one of those sad parts of life, right? It's sometimes I feel like you got kids, right? Sometimes you got to give your kids some medicine, and the medicine hurts going down a little bit, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Right. At number. No, you had something else on that?
No. I would say between those first two, I'm most concerned with. Yeah, let's secure the border. Let's fucking. Yeah. Let's get it over with, because like honestly for me, like I'm an old man, and I feel like I've been going through this circus for decades and decades. Honestly, the Democratic Party has essentially been pushing open borders for my entire lifetime. Right. And it's just like a house, man. If you live in a house with roommates, it's okay to say lock the door. You're not going to have stability until you have security. You need security.
I've had roommates, even like after college. You know what I'm saying? I've had roommates in college. I've had roommates as an adult, like, and it's just like, yo, like, who are these people? You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just invite everybody to the crib. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know them. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's going on here? And sometimes, just like you said, it's okay to tell them, like, yo, you're not, I don't want you in my house. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not providing anything. But with that being said, if you take the proper steps, introduce yourself. You know what I'm saying? Come by, hang out. You know what I'm saying? But like, don't just walk in the crib.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, you need that security to be able to set up a system where you can take the proper steps, right? Because, I mean, if you don't have the step one covered, then you don't get to step two.
Right. Number 3 says end inflation and make America affordable again. I'm pretty sure everybody can get with that, right?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty generic. It really depends, how you're gonna do it. And Trump goes into pretty. I agree with most of his fiscal solutions as far as inflation.
Yeah, to be honest. Make America the dominant energy producer in the world by far.
Far. I'm big on that one. On that one.
Yeah. In what
as opposed to. These things are always juxtaposed, right? It's like as opposed to really leaning heavily into the whole green energy subsidies route.
Yeah, I'm with that. Now this is the one right here that I'm really behind. Number 5. I'm really behind. Stop outsourcing and turn the United States into a manufacturing superpower. I am 100% down with that.
Yeah, that's really the long term. When you're talking about long term success of your nation, the next 20 years, 40 years, stability.
Because we've seen. I think I honestly now I could be completely ignorant to what's really going on, but I feel like outsourcing of these type of manufacturing jobs has been the downfall of the middle class. You know, they say the middle class is shrinking and damn near non-existent. I think that has a lot to do with the manufacturing jobs being in China, being in Turkey, being in Bangladesh, being even in Mexico now. I think that is a very big problem. If we can't, those middle class, those blue collar jobs, those manufacturing warehousing jobs, those are the backbone of the middle class, the backbone of America, in my opinion.
I absolutely agree. I think it's never one thing, but that is a huge factor. That's a huge factor. Combined with the illegal immigration, once you start talking about 10 million, 20 million new people added to the workforce, that is obviously going to devalue the cost of labor, the wages and job opportunities that present themselves. Yeah, that's huge.
Mr. T, I got this link. I'm sending the link out again, Mr. T. I would like for you to jump on if you can. I see you, Multi Kenny. I see you in the lobby. We are going to get to you, brother. Mr. T, I would like for you to click on this link if you can. You know what I mean? You don't got to have a whole crazy setup or anything, as long as you got a mic in something, or not like an actual mic, but if you're just on your phone, you know what I'm saying, you can pull up and talk. I want to know why you say that borders are the cancer of mankind. That was a big statement you made in the comments. I would really like to hear you speak on that, brother. And anybody else, feel free to click on that link too. So where were we? Large tax cuts for workers and no tax on tips. I've been hearing that no tax on tips a lot lately. Pirate, how do you feel about number 6? Large tax cuts for workers and no tax on tips.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm a I'm a low tax guy. So anytime you talk about cutting taxes, I'm generally going to agree. The reason why you've been hearing a lot of it is because Trump came out with the no tax on tips, and then Kamala ganked him for that idea. And last week or so, she's been going out saying, "Hey, no taxes on tips."
Yeah. I know a lot of service workers that are really getting behind that. Like, tax and tips.
Well, and strategically, the kind of the overhead move is kind of a play for Nevada. Nevada is one of these swing states that we're going to be looking at. Yeah. So this is kind of targeting Nevada, try to win Nevada, get those votes in Nevada.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a whole lot of sense. I can see that. Now, the only problem is now if whoever does win Nevada, and let's say Nevada is the deciding factor, if they win Nevada and then don't follow through with that, like that's my problem with political parties. Like, I want you to stand on what you ran on. You know, I want these politicians to stand on what they're running on.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to be touching on that again once we start going over Kamala's new economic proposals, because I feel like the majority of the ideas that she came out with this week they have virtually no chance of actually being implemented. It's really it's a play for votes. Yeah. But I mean, that's politics.
After this, I am going to pull that up. I did find some information on her economic proposals. So I'll get to that definitely after we finish this list. Number 7, defend our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and our fundamental freedoms, including freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and right to keep and bear arms. Of course, I'm down with that. Like, 100%, I'm always down with defending the Constitution. You can't.
Yeah, and then the Second Amendment. I am huge on the Second Amendment. You know. Right. Stay away from our guns.
Right. Yeah, that's I'm big on that. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, the right to bear arms, all that. You can't get me to argue against that ever. Prevent World War III, restore peace in Europe and in the Middle East, and build a great Iron Dome missile defense shield over our entire country, all made in America.
Yeah, that's a funny one. He's going back to are you old enough to remember Star Wars? Not the movie, the Ronald Reagan, the plan for Star Wars, the missile defense system. Yeah. So I mean, Yeah, an Iron Dome for America. America's pretty big.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I'll prevent. I mean, obviously, I would like to prevent World War III. We don't want to go to another world war. I would like for us to mind our business in the
Yeah, that
Middle
one's kind of
East.
vague. I think
Yeah,
I think these ones towards the end they start getting a little vague, and you know. But
in the weapon. So I like this one, number 9. In the weaponization of government against the American people. Obviously, so when they were saying defund the police, I was really with demilitarize the police. We should,
right, the whole demilitarized angle. Yeah.
yeah. Stop the migrant crime epidemic, demolish the foreign drug cartels, crush gang violence, and lock up violent offenders.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down for law and order. You know what I'm saying? I'm down for law and order. I'm not down for overboard policing of the American people. But I am down for law and order. This one right here: rebuild our cities, including Washington D.C., make them safe, clean, and beautiful again. I think that number 11 goes back to number 5. Stop outsourcing and turn the United States into a manufacturing powerhouse. I think if you were to do that, because I think that was the downfall of cities like Detroit and St. Louis. A lot of those manufacturing cities in the middle in the Midwest, I think the downfall of those cities were outsourcing these these big plants, these big warehouses, these big manufacturing warehouses. I think if we could bring a lot of that back, we can rebuild a lot of those cities.
And it's all connected, right? Like if the factory shuts down and 300 guys lose their job at the factory, then that's going to affect the guy running the corner store. The corner store will shut down. If all the corner stores shut down, then then the truckers, all this stuff's connected.
Yeah. It's. I think that's a big thing right there. I think it's actually very overlooked too. I don't think people understand how serious it is to, be outsourcing these types of jobs. Okay, where are we at? Strengthen and modernize our military, making it without question the strongest and most powerful in the world. I don't think that's an issue. I think we're already pretty much there.
Yeah, so that's why I'm a bit more of a reduce. Ideally I'd say we got some space to reduce and pull back the military a bit, spend a little bit less money in the military, but
what are they? They're spending. I saw what were they spending? Like $30,000 on like bolts and nuts and things like that.
Oh yeah. The government, anything the government buys is going to be like 10 times where it's actually worth.
Keep the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. Fight for and protect Social Security and Medicare with no cuts, including no changes to the retirement age. Cancel the electric vehicle mandate and cut costly and burdensome regulations.
Yeah, so I'm big on that one too. I agree with that very much. I'm very anti-subsidy person. So subsidies are when the government gives industry money, kind of a head start, leg up, which is this whole Green New Deal as far as giving the electric companies, the electric car companies, a bunch of government funding for a greater good idea. I'm more of a let the market play out and let companies compete and whatever works best rise to the top. So yeah, big supporter of that.
Have you been seeing Harley Davidson? They got the new CEO, and they're even talking about going green, and they got a lot of those biker guys really pissed.
Yeah, the biker guys are like covering up their Harley Davidson emblems and embarrassed to ride. Man, everything goes woke at some point. It seems like.
Right.
But when Budweiser went woke,
So cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, radical gender ideology, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children.
Ox, how do you feel about that one?
So when they say critical race theory,
Mm-hmm.
that's where I'm concerned, because they want to erase a lot of history, and pretend like some things didn't happen. Now I'm obviously not down for that. I'm 100% with telling the truth. I'll hear them say, "Oh, well, white kids are gonna feel like they're bad, and black kids are gonna feel like they're oppressed," and it's like, well, let's just keep telling the truth. Let's talk about American history the way American history happened. It's not my job to make you feel secure about what your ancestors did or didn't do. So that part right there, you know what I'm saying, I'm not with taking things out of textbooks and altering history. We talked about this a lot last episode about the gender ideology. I definitely think they need to cut that shit out in classes. So
yeah, let me just toss this in, because I did my degree is in history, so I definitely I do not want to alter history in the least bit, or not teach any part of history because it might make someone uncomfortable. I honestly don't think that's what they're talking about here specifically. Now this is a highly politicized issue, but I would say there is most definitely a distinction between the people who argue for teaching these kinds of things, they put it onto the don't want to teach slavery, that type of rhetoric. But there is, I don't know how much you've actually read of critical theory, and which critical race theory is a part of critical theory. There's critical queer theory, critical race theory. It's not just teaching history. It is a fairly well-defined philosophy. It's got Marxist roots in the philosophy. It was created by the Frankfurt School. Had a big influence in the 40s and the 50s. It is we don't need to dive into the whole thing because it really is just such a mess. I mean, it would be a whole episode to really dive into. But as far as not teaching children in public school critical theory, I would support, because critical theory depends on certain philosophical outlooks that depend on mainly the oppressor versus oppressee, and a lot of other things that I don't think children of that age should be diving into. It's really, it's something really more for older people. I do believe that public education, not even that I want it to be, I believe, I'm not a big fan of public education in the first place, but if it is going to exist, I believe public education has to be as apolitical as possible. You know, like I have a bunch of political beliefs, but if I were a public school teacher, I feel like it would be irresponsible for me to be pushing my political beliefs onto children.
100%.
Frankly,
100%.
You know. So
this one here, number 17, is one I can totally get behind. Keep men out of women's sports.
Yeah, that's basic, and I'm with that. I think
we can all agree on that.
Yeah, cut and dry.
Number 18 is another one that's kind of dangerous, kind of.
Now that one's out there.
How do you do this? Yeah. So deport pro Hamas radicals and make our college campuses safe and patriotic again. It's just kind of like,
yeah, that's out there.
Exactly mean, right? Yeah. You know, is it going to be like the Cold War, and you know what I'm saying, arresting spies? You know what I'm saying, like, you know, relax,
right?
You know?
Yeah.
Number 19.
I would say chill on that one. And I've tried to look into that one. I I don't see a lot of information on that one, but on face value, I don't really just support that on face value.
19 is secure our elections, including same-day voting, voter identification, paper ballots, and proof of citizenship.
I do support that. Yeah,
I do as well. Number 20, unite our country by bringing it to new and record levels of success. Okay, that's
just general. Yeah, well, whatever.
What are you talking about?
Sounds good.
Yeah. So I want to say, just after reading that and then seeing Kamala's website, right? If I had to vote just only based on these two websites, if it was like, hey, I need you to vote between these two people, and this is website and that's website, I would be forced to vote for Trump, because at least there was information there, at least there was a stance there. At least I know what's going on here, or I know what you're proposing. Kamala website, Miss Harris' website, was really just hey, donate, buy this shit, you know. So it was like
it really is.
could you please tell me what you know what I'm saying, what you're standing on?
It's crazy, Ox. I don't know, so it's been 33 days of that Kamala has been the nominee. She has not done a sit-down interview yet. It's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy to me. You're running for president. It's been over a month and you haven't done one interview.
Right. Yeah, that is kind of strange. Let me read this super chat from Sasha N. Sasha N says, why did Trump stop the biggest and most important bipartisan border bill ever produced? If it was so important, why did he pressure them to stop that bill? Even Fox News was critical of Trump.
Yeah, political. It's political. Because, well, frankly, I also read that bill, and it was, it's kind of sad that it was one of the biggest border bills in a while, because it wasn't that strong, honestly. But, yeah, no, I mean, like, if we're going to be blunt, it was gamesmanship, because, again, like I said, the Democrats have, at least my entire life, they push for open borders effectively. In the since Biden has become president, we all know that the border has become a huge issue in the polls. It's very influential, and it looks like it's going to influence this election. And so, yeah, essentially that was a political move by the Republicans to not to keep immigration as one of the top issues going into this election.
Right. Okay. Let me see.
So yeah, I mean that's politics, and politics gets dirty like that quite often.
Right. So we went through that. Let me play this a couple clips. I want to get into the DNC a little bit. Before we do, I want to play a couple clips. 1 second. This is the first clip I have from the DNC.
Just going back to that, the border thing, you could say in the macro sense is you don't take what was given during that, you push it to the side, you keep immigration a top concern, so that what they're thinking is you get Trump in, and then you really actually lock it down.
Actually, y'all, I lied. I'm not going to the DNC yet. I want to go to these proposed economic plans from Kamala real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. Y'all can see that? Okay. There we go. So, Harris has proposed a slew of economic policies. Here's a look at what's in them. Okay, we got food prices. After years of polling showing the Americans are worried about inflation, Harris is aiming to contain prices where they have often been most conspicuously felt, at the grocery store. She promises to, during her first 100 days in office, send Congress proposed federal limits on price increases for food producers and groceries. And grocers, I'm sorry. Is that possible? How do we do that? Federal trade.
Yeah, so that's it's Ox. This is price fixing. This is in economics. Price fixing is one of the most. I'm amazed, and a lot of other people are amazed that she came out with this, because price fixing is one of the most debunked policies in the history of economics. It has never worked. Going back to the Romans, it fundamentally does not work. The last time we tried it in America was during the Nixon administration over 50 years ago. And just fundamentally, it's not how economics work. You don't just wave a magic wand and say, okay, I'm going to say an apple cost $1, and now apples cost $1.
Well, I mean, there's more to it than, just the apple being in front of you. The apple has to get there. People have to get paid to pick that apple. People have to be paid to transport that apple, to grow that apple. There's more to it than just saying, oh, well, this has to cost that.
Whenever you fix prices, the inevitability is that you have shortages, because you're intervening on what the free market has set the price for something, and now you're saying you can't sell an apple for let's say you can't sell an apple for more than $1. Well, the guy at the grocery store says, well, it costs me more than $1 to buy the apple, so I just won't buy apples. And then the guy who's growing the apple says, well, it costs me more than $1 to grow the apple, so I just won't grow apples. And so you run out of apples. It's one of the most basic, literally, it's one of the most basic ideas in economics, and it's got a long. It's been proven over and over and over and over again that price fixing is not a viable economic idea, which makes it so amazing that she came out with it, because again, it seems like it's just for votes, to sound good, because it's in no way is it feasible, or it's just really not a realistic policy. It's odd.
Yeah, I don't understand how that works. Real quick, Sasha N sent another super chat directed to you, Pirate. Sasha says, that's cat, Pirate. That bipartisan bill was more substantial than any border bill Trump passed.
I mean, I feel like I was pretty honest with the whole thing. I said that they specifically, the Republicans did not accept it to keep immigration as an issue in the election. I'm saying that's what happened. It was a political move to not accept any movement on the border, because it's a hot button issue.
Right. I do see y'all in the lobby. I see a couple of y'all back there. I'm gonna get to y'all as soon as possible. Let us get through some more of these economic plans from Kamala really quick. Housing. Harris is calling for the construction of 3 million new housing units over 4 years, which she says will ease a serious housing shortage in America. She also plans to promote legislation creating a new series of tax incentives for builders who construct starter homes sold to first-time home buyers. She also wants $40 billion innovation fund, doubling a similar pot of money created by the Biden administration for businesses building affordable renting housing units. Harris also wants to speed up permitting and review processes to get housing stock to the market more quickly.
Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely agree with cutting back on regulations. We need to see more on this, because she threw out 3 million houses. I don't know exactly how she's coming to that figure exactly. But we definitely do need more housing. That's for sure. We need to raise the supply of housing.
So is there a shortage in the amount of homes, or is it just not affordable?
Well, it's not affordable because there is a shortage, I would say. Yeah.
Okay. Next, there is taxes and medical costs. Harris wants to speed up a Biden administration effort that has allowed Medicare and other federal programs to negotiate with drug makers to lower the cost of prescription medications, aiming to cut the price tags of some of the most expensive and most commonly used drugs by roughly 40% to 80% starting in 2026. Is that possible? Will big pharmaceutical companies and insurance companies, would they allow this to happen?
I mean, not just out of the goodness of their heart.
right.
You know. So yeah, again, that's one where it's like kind of the devil's in the details as to exactly how you plan to do that. Does that page have anything on the capital gains or no?
Let me see.
Because I know that was the capital gains was a big one.
I don't see anything about capital gains on this particular page.
So the proposal I've seen. The proposal I've seen is that she wants to raise capital gains to 45%, and then, which would is effectively over doubling most all capital gains, and the really odd one is she's proposing. Now they started floating this idea a couple of years ago. Elizabeth Warren, I don't know if you know her. She's fairly progressive. She started floating this. She's really big into the wealth taxes, and so Kamala proposed 25% tax on unrealized gains in the stock market for people with over 100 million in assets. So it's it's essentially it's a wealth tax. But I don't know if you were the audience. So we're talking; these are unrealized gains. So it's imagine you have your stock portfolio. Your stock goes up. You make a profit on the stock, but you have yet to sell that stock.
Right.
She wants to tax that profit that you have not realized yet, which is a very
that's crazy. We can't. You can't. That's enough. That's enough right there. Like you can't do that. Like this. But
that would have huge ramifications.
Yeah. So for people that don't know what capital gains tax is, it's a tax levied on profit from the sale of property or an investment. So she wants to tax 45% on capital gains.
45%. Yeah.
That's insane. That's insane.
Yeah. And
there's no businessman or businesswoman, business person that I know that would get behind that. I know I 100% would never get behind that.
Well, I mean, yeah, just it inevitably is going to have a stifling effect on the growth of the economy. But it is, it's part of this philosophy that the Democrats and the left are pretty big on, the taxing the rich thing, the Robin Hood thing.
So what is it, Pirate? I believe it's what is it called? Where I can't remember right now. But it's when you're selling property, when you're selling homes, that so for instance, let's say I got this 2-bedroom, 1-bath home, small home. I sell it. I got that. Now, for me to avoid having to pay taxes on that, I have to purchase a home of more value. And then they won't tax me on the sale of this one. If I keep upgrading on more expensive property, then I don't have to pay taxes until that last one, when I decide, okay, I'm not buying another one. Now you can tax me on that. So you're saying that she will end that, where no matter what, when I sell, boom, I need they want to tax it right there on the spot.
Yeah, well, the 45% one, that's just a blanket that's going to affect every capital gains exchange that there is. Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah, that's something that I do not support. That is and again, this is it's one of those things. It sounds good, because most people are not. A lot of people have animosity towards the rich, and it's something that you can play off of morally to, rob the rich to pay for social projects. And, you can to an extent, but you can't, you can only go to the well so many times. That's what I'm saying, you can, if you're talking about a big thing, you can go to the well once and you go, oh, that was nice. Let's go back to the well, and you'll find there's less water. And if you keep doing it, you'll go back and you'll find there's no water, in general. So
yeah, that's
45% on capital gains. I feel like that is far too high, and the unrealized, the taxation of unrealized gains is just, that's some out there shit.
Yeah, that's crazy.
As far as I'm concerned, yeah, the ramifications of that are wild.
Yeah. Pirate Sasha N is not through with you yet. Sasha N wants to know, then how can you say Dems are the ones who believe in open borders when they are pushing this bill? No Republican has come up with a bill like this in power.
Because I'm 47 years old and I've lived through my entire life, they push open borders, and there's no way in hell that they would have brought up that bill if the polls weren't killing them on immigration over the last 3 years. I don't know if you're old enough just to remember back to 2016, when Trump essentially won his first election on the border and building the wall. That was the issue that pushed him over the top. And the Democrats most definitely have been pushing for an open border, and they flipped on a dime. Anyone who's been following politics for longer than a couple of years knows that it's been like that forever, and it honestly still is like that right now. Even if you watch the DNC, you'll notice a huge mixed message where they say they're going to be tough on the border, but they also want to welcome as many immigrants as possible. It's a very mixed message that they have right now. It's a tough one because they're trying to address their, each election cycle, there's usually each party's going to have like one Achilles heel that's really damaging them, and they try to minimize that and control it the best they can.
Okay,
that's the way it is.
I thought Kenny's been in the back waiting for a while. Let's pull Kenny up now. Yo, Kenny, what's up, fam?
What's good, man? What's good? So it's just like listening to this topic, and I always, before I speak on things, this goes to whether it be basketball, whether it be whatever, whether it be drama.
I can't hear him. Can you? Oh wait.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah, I could hear him.
Okay, I can hear him now.
Okay, go ahead, Kenny.
Basically what I was saying was, like, I do research, or at least make sure I know what I'm talking about before I speak on something. And when I'm hearing a lot of these things that you guys are bringing up with especially like Trump's policy and what he believes in, a couple of things that I started to do, because I would listen to what you guys would read off and things that he said in the media. I'd go look at it, just skimming a few articles, just seeing what did he actually say and what does this mean in regards to what he said. And a lot of the points where, if you look at it face value, like if you go back to the website, look at it face value, they sound nice because of what they're saying, But then when you do look at the details, it's actually either contradicting itself or is something that I don't believe people would actually support if they actually do the details about it, or were more informed on what they're actually trying to tackle. Like, first thing, when it comes to, like, for example, they said they want to protect the Constitution and things of that nature, but they're actually trying to repeal things in the Constitution that would be either protect either people's rights when it comes to reproductive rights and things of that nature, or in the sense of wanting to keep freedom of speech, but then we're limiting what we teach in schools because because of one person's stance on something like that. Is that truly limiting speech? And then on top of that, if you look at the supporters of Trump and just Trump himself, they want to bring God back to America. That's not freedom of religion. That's pursuing and establishing a religion in the state itself. It's a bunch of contradictions from just that one point of saying, oh, we want to do these things, we want to protect these things. And then going back and you look at the people who are supporting it, or the people who are going to be in power, whether they be in the Senate or in the Republic or in the Speaker of the House, they're actively, not Speaker of the House, House Representatives, that's what I'm trying to say. They're actively saying what is the opposite of what the stance is saying. So it's like when you can do that with a lot of those points that he's bringing up. So the fact that he has those points on his website doesn't sway me at all once I actually see where he stands on it. Just because he's saying, oh, I'm going to do this, but isn't actually standing on what he's saying, does not sway me for the fact that Kamala just happens not to have it on her website. When you can look up things or at least hear what she has said and where she stood on certain policies, maybe they're not fleshed out yet, but she's at least spoken on things that she's believing. You guys just kind of touched on that like a few minutes ago. They're just not like front center, easy to find. And I believe that people should do their due diligence of finding this information instead of just relying on little bullet point notes on a website saying we're going to do this without looking at the details. The devil is in the details.
Right. So, Kenny, I agree. I agree to a certain extent. I just want to ask you this one question. Do you not think that her website for her election should have some of her policies? Don't you think that she should be kind of more letting people know what do you stand for? Do you think that would help a little bit more?
I think it would help in the common sense of just, making it more accessible. To me, I wouldn't have even looked at her website if it wasn't for me watching the show. I would have never even seen the website. I would just.
Oh, there you go. Well, we got people looking. They're looking.
Like I wouldn't have even looked, but it's. I think as voters, and if we're going to take our right to vote seriously, we should be informed of what we should do, and we should look into what the people were voting for, whether it be a presidential election or even your local state government, or even county government. Like, you should look to what these people are doing and not just simply the ads and the billboards, things of that nature. What do these people stand for? Why do they stand for it? How are they going to do it? Like, so regardless if it's easy accessible, it just makes it easier to find it. But if you really want to do your due diligence and make sure that your vote's not going to waste, you will put the effort to find that information.
Okay. So, yeah, Kenny, good to have you up here. I agree with, I definitely agree with one of the things he said. I disagree with a couple others. As far as separation of church and state, absolutely support that. And there has been a bit of an infiltration from the Christian right that seems to be stepping a little bit too far in some areas, in my opinion. I disagree with a couple of your points there. Can you reiterate the point that you were making as far as what we're teaching in public schools and how it relates to freedom of speech? What's your general point there?
That point was more so just kind of like they're trying to limit what is being taught. Like, they're limiting a source of information and things of that nature. And they're trying to promote being so open, free speech, and be able to say what you want to say, but they're actively limiting things that are taught in a public setting. I just feel like it's contradictory in that regard.
Well, hold on. Okay. Let's flesh this out, though. Let's flesh this out. Kenny, would it be acceptable for a public school teacher to show up every day in a Nazi outfit and teach the virtues of Adolf Hitler and the Third Reich?
No, I don't think
Would that be freedom of speech?
That is technically freedom of speech, but freedom of speech is not freedom of repercussions, freedom of outcome.
Oh, okay, but no, I think we really need to like think about this, because it's not actually freedom of speech. Okay, because public education is, you are a government employee. So your freedom of speech does not extend to you being a public school teacher and just deciding to go up in front of a class of kids and say whatever you want. Freedom of speech is for a private individual to express their opinion and thoughts in however they want. That's the First Amendment. That's freedom of speech. When you're an employee of the government, that's propaganda. Honestly, that's you're an employee. We do have standards because the public school is funded by the taxpayers, and so there are standards where teachers are you do not have ultimate freedom to say and teach whatever you want to children.
I get that, and that was, like I said, I brought that point up as more of it just like a generalization of a greater point of them preaching freedom of speech, and especially not just specifically that on the website, but their overall message of, oh, we want to be able to say this, we want to avoid being canceled, things of that nature. And I just find it funny when they're doing that, but then actively trying to like take something like that all out of the public school curriculum. And I can understand you being against that for your own reasons, things of that nature. I was just saying, like, to me, I can see that as kind of like contradictory, but I understand they're not directly linked. I completely understand that. I understand when it comes to being a part of a government or even a corporate entity, you are under the rules and regulation of that. Like, for example, if I work at a company, I can't sit there and say whatever I want, do whatever I want under the guise of the company. They could fire me for that because it's not representative of the image or the message that they want to give. So I get that. I 100% get that.
Yeah, so I mean, the freedom of speech really goes back to Ox. You remember, I think either last episode or the episode before that, we played the clip of Walls talking about misinformation and the government being able to prosecute misinformation. So that's really what we're talking about when you talk about freedom of speech, is the government's ability to punish an individual private citizen on account of their personal expression. That's freedom of speech. So it's separate from public school teachers.
Oh yeah, well,
and whatever the curriculum that's being taught there. And then your other point with the abortion. What was your main point there?
Let me go back because
found some scratches. I didn't even scratch that, Pirate.
What's that?
I was just saying, I just found some scratchers over here. I ain't even scratched these yet.
Man, you got a whole pile of them. You might be a millionaire as we speak. You might be getting ready to pay 45%.
Oh. Go ahead, King.
I'm trying to remember because I was saying protect the Constitution, things of that nature. But they
right to privacy, right? I think you were tying it to the right to privacy.
Yes, and that's being direct, like things like that in the Constitution and some of our rights that we have as Americans are actively being attacked, but just through a means, a channel in package in a way that is done so to make us feel like it's not, or to avoid actively saying we're ignoring this specific amendment in the Constitution. And that's why I'm just saying I was applying that to how a lot of the points on Donald Trump's website are either contradictory or just some of them are just kind of lies in a way that are packaged to sound good when you first hear them, because like, oh yeah, I would agree with that. And then you look up how they're going to do that. Like, oh no, I don't agree with that. It's just it's a lot of that on that website.
Yeah, no, I will agree that in my sorry, man. So yeah. I will agree. I mean, Donald Trump is most definitely not my ideal candidate for president, and he most definitely can be loose and fast with words as well. I would not rank Donald Trump as one of the most uh, the highest integrity politician that I've come across in my lifetime at all. Um, so yeah, I mean, as far as your bigger point that everyone should have a lot of scrutiny and try to dig in as much as you can into everything that all these people are saying and how realistic and what the real motivation and the real outcome would be. I would most definitely second that, because politics it seems like, especially over the last 8 years or so, it's gotten much vaguer than when I was growing up. If you go back and look at the past, in the 80s and 90s, like presidential debates, they used to have multiple debates. They would have debates on a specific subject and sit there and hammer out a specific subject for like 2 hours and really dive into it.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a lot less of that these days. We're seeing a lot of like, just letting a meme kind of carry a vague idea, and there's some power to that, because what they're doing is they're saying as little as possible, and they're letting the viewer kind of imagine the best outcome in their head. So it's some psyops type of stuff that's going on these days. It is. So yeah, I agree with some of that.
Yeah.
You got anything else, Kenny?
No, I actually have a.
If you do, go ahead.
Yeah. I also, when it comes to like the whole immigration thing, I feel like that's such a murky topic that often gets misrepresented, especially when it comes to what the actual issue is when it comes to immigration. Because it's not like we have open borders, people just crossing the border like willy-nilly, things like that. The biggest issue is that people who are illegal immigrants are coming to U.S. soil and then claiming for asylum. Claim for asylum. All right. Claim for asylum, and then they get brought to the U.S. Under the same of asylum, and then they're supposed to get processed through the courts when it comes to ICE. ICE is supposed to be handle all of that. The issue is now, the reason why the border system is becoming so backed up is because there's so many people who have done that the courts can't get to them all, and that's what the biggest issue that's happening right now. And that's what needs to be tackled more than anything, rather than like like the massive deportation of just immigrants that are securing the borders, because the borders are secure for the most part. Granted, there's things that could be done better, but they're secure for the most part. But the biggest issue is those seeking asylum in there and they're stuck in the country, and then you kind of just get stuck here, get a life here, and things of that nature. Because also, when you look at the policies and also the talking points that Trump has brought up, is attacking more than just the people who have done this and done these things to get access to the United States. He's also attacking the kids of these people who have have a right to have been born here and are United States citizens, things of nature. They want to deport them as well. The people who have no ties to the country that their parents are from, who have developed a life here, have become hardworking U.S. citizens, things of that nature. And that's why I have such an issue with Trump's approach to dealing with the immigration issue, because it's missing the actual point of it and what the actual issue is, which is the backing up of these courts to actually get the immigrants out of here that aren't supposed to be here, and they're only here through the asylum seeking, and are attacking the people who were born here, and attacking people who or just kind of lumping in a group of people based off of ethnicity to attack them specifically. And I think that's where his harmful rhetoric comes into play, where people just think, oh, Mexicans bad, or are Middle Eastern people bad because they come in here bringing their terrorist and cocaine and El Chapo and shit like that. Like that's what that turns into. And I feel like that being unchecked and unspoken on and being the main focus of the propaganda that's being pushed about this is the biggest issue when there's a very clear issue that we can tackle through our government that should be the main focus of all of this.
Ox, you got any?
I mean, I understand where you're coming from with that, Kenny. And like I said earlier, the mass deportation, things like that, I feel like that is dangerous for a lot of our Latino brothers and sisters. I think it is. But with that being said, there's still something that must be done about people coming over illegally, staying illegally, and taking resources from other American citizens. I think that's something that must be done. I do think it needs to be done in a proper way.
Yeah, and then
let me just say that it's obviously a broken system that's being taken advantage of. We know that most people, their request for asylum is denied, but they know that if they come to America, they put in their request and then they get lost in the system, lost in America, and many of them are willing to, rather live as an illegal citizen in America than where they came from. Now, let me make one thing crystal clear. For me personally, there's absolutely nothing racial about it. I'm Irish American. If it was 10 million Irish people coming in, I would have the exact same feeling. And it's I understand from both. Look, you understand the motivation from the immigrant. Obviously, they're coming from a much worse situation, and I understand their motivation to break the law and try to get into America. But you have to look at the end result, which is inevitable, and you know what's going to happen. At least if you're thinking about it economically, you should know what's going to happen. You're going to create a subculture of workers in your country that, because the volume of the illegal labor gets so large that it's going to depress the wages that virtually all Americans are making, unless you're like a computer designer or something. And that's not a good way to run your country. It just isn't. You're making you're knowingly making a caste system. I don't know if you've ever played any like world building type civilization type games, where you're trying to make the most perfect country. But if you're unable to control the population of your country, and you're going to bring in workers that are living outside of the system, but then you're also trying to create a system that benefits the population of the country, that's not a good formula for success. The only time open borders make sense is if your country is basically anarchistic. If you basically have zero levels of welfare government spending, then you can open your borders and people can come and go as they please, and it doesn't have a negative effect. But in the real world, you're setting yourself up for a very negative effect on your country as a whole. It's just inevitable.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kenny. Go ahead. Get that thought off. I was gonna say this, Kenny. After this thought, we are gonna move on. If you got more and you want to get to, you can feel free to stay in the lobby, and we'll bring you back up towards the end if you want to. But we just want to let some other people get their thoughts off. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
No, if you want to finish up your thought, by all means, go ahead and do that, bro.
All right. Yeah, just last thought. I'm definitely not proposing for open borders. Open borders, like you said, is just not like feasible. It's not beneficial in any sort of way. That's what I said. Like the border issue needs to be solved. It's just I would prefer, not even just prefer. It needs we need to understand what we're exactly attacking and make sure we're solving that problem instead of turning it into a witch hunt of brown people, which is pretty much what Trump's rhetoric is doing. That's why I have such an issue with it.
Well, I mean, to be fair, like, have you seen Trump's support among the Hispanic population? It's actually quite impressive. It looks like he's going to get about half of the Hispanics. So,
okay, yeah.
But again, he is a guy who's very loose and fast with his tongue. He shoots from the hip, and he definitely says some things that rub me wrong some of the time. So he's an unconventional politician, that is for sure.
Yeah, I'd like to say, right, if we try to move on, I don't got the time to explain why that's the case, and it's not. It's a lot to do with racial identity, like racial norms, which kind of goes into why critical race theory is important to teach. But yeah, so we can move on. It was nice to talk to y'all.
If you want to bring Kenny back after these other guys talk a little bit about critical race theory,
yeah, we can definitely do that if you got time, Kenny. I'm not gonna boot you out the lobby, so if you want to stick around, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, stick around.
All right, okay, good job. Yep.
Before we do get to the next guest, I want to read this super chat. Sasha N is not letting you off the hook, Pirate. I'm telling you, Sasha is not letting you off the hook. Sasha N says that's Cap saying they only came up with the bill when they were losing in the polls. This bill was worked on since last year, way before these polls.
Yeah, they were tanked in the polls last year. Look, just go on to Real Clear Politics and follow the issue immigration for the last 4 years. It's been the number one issue that has been killing the Democratic Party. And let me make sure, whenever we say like the Republicans think this or the Democrats think that, most of the time what we're talking about is factions within. So like when I say open borders, Democrats, obviously not 100% of Democrats are 100% open borders. But within the Democratic Party, there is a sizable faction. I'd say probably at least a solid 25% my entire lifetime, the whole way through, who have been effectively open borders. And within America, as far as if you're going to look at who in America is affecting politics to push open border type policies, that's where it's coming from.
Right. I sent this link out again. I see Joseph, you have some very strong points in the comment section, saying that we have some fascist talking points. Feel free to click on this link and explain what you're saying. Before we do move on to the next guest, I just want to do some quick housekeeping. Y'all know, just to remind y'all, like the video on your way in, so you don't have to like the video on your way out. The quote of the year is still the same quote it's been. You can't buy energy, you gotta get some sleep. That's a quote from my man Breezy. Y'all make sure to go check out Breezy's page and subscribe, like his content. He goes live a lot of basketball content to the Nets. Good content over there. Y'all go check him out. I want to give a second to just have a brief intermission. Remind y'all that if you are struggling, with sobriety, you're recently sober or whatnot, and you're looking for a way to continue to improve on that sobriety, improve on your life, please go to lifebeyondsobriety.com. I'm gonna let my man Kelly speak to y'all a little bit more about that.
Hey, it's Kelly here, former crack addict, recovery coach, and Life Beyond Sobriety. That is my private online community for people in addiction recovery who want to set big goals now that they're sober and make those goals happen. We learn strategies in weekly live coaching sessions to make those things come true. Go to lifebeyondsobriety.com and check it out 2 weeks for free.
Right on, lifebeyondsobriety.com. It's never too late to do the right thing, and it's never anything to be embarrassed about to continue to improve your life and help yourself, y'all. Make sure to check that out if you or a loved one need those services. Without further ado, I'm going to bring up our next guest. We got my man Primo. What's good, Primo?
What's up, man? Speaking of sobriety, man, toast up. Don't let this trigger you.
No doubt. What's good? What's good though, fam? What you got for us?
Before I get into the critical race theory thing, I agree about the borders. It ain't about immigration. It's about you can get in here legally. You can do that. You might have to fight to do it, but you can do it. I'm all for migration, not immigration, though. You know what I'm saying? But about the critical race theory, why I think people don't really want that in schools, and I'm not saying if I want it in or not, because critical race theory is based on advantages of people based on color, not just prejudice, but law. You see what I'm saying? Like certain laws been passed, and it don't seem like it's racist, but it is. And they have been, and they don't want people to learn about that because they don't want kids to seem like they below somebody or above somebody, right? Because we grew up in a different time where we played together. So white, black, orange. When we little, we really don't know that. That's really taught. So, but it is a part of history. Like Ox said, we still need to go back and see why certain laws is passed and certain things was like welfare wasn't allocated to black people at first. Them type of things wasn't available for loans, and how when the Great Depression hit and people got loans and kickbacks, black people wasn't qualified for those type of things. Yeah, we was allowed to vote, but they had a lot of trick little tests for you to vote. IQ tests, stuff. That's why we had to fight for the Civil Rights Act. You see what I'm saying? So this, what I'm saying, when it comes to this new political era, or when it comes to black people, because I'm for justice for all people, but there is no agenda to keep us safe on the board either way, Trump or Kamala. We haven't heard nothing. All we seen was twerking, chicken wings, and people, rappers, and nobody care about that. You know what I'm saying? At least Trump went and sat down with the National Black Reporter. He went over there. He knew they was gonna try to act crazy, and he still went over there. See, I'm not for no party. I'm for the
Yeah, that was a crazy interview.
Huh? What you say?
That was a crazy interview. That was a crazy interview.
I don't think that interview was good at all. That interview, when you come in on attack mode instead of asking what's the policy, what's the policies you have to push something forward for certain people. They went in there and got to talking about, why you ain't calling Kamala not black, and what is black jobs? See, that's a whole bunch of a nothing burger. You see what I'm saying? Ain't nobody trying to hear that. That's why I was pushing more towards a Trump, because at least he'll come to me and talk to me. Okay, what you got? You see what I'm saying? When it comes to Kamala, she told me what she gonna do. I'm not gonna create no policy for you. That's what she said out of her own mouth years ago. Then she reneged on the Biden situation. She called Joe Biden a racist. I watched that debate. She called him a racist.
That was her angle.
They were losing on the polls, and they picked Kamala up to get the polls back through black people. See, you got to pay attention, because most of the country is 50-50, right, Pirate? Most of the country is a swing vote, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, generally it comes down to, 6 or 7 swing states are going to be the big decider. Yep.
And who dominates the swing vote?
Well, nobody really. That's what makes it a swing vote.
The swing vote usually come down to the African Americans, though. That it usually do. We usually got the swing vote.
Yeah, I mean it really comes down to a lot of things. It's a lot of things, and it really depends on which state you're talking about too. Each different states are looking at different things. But yeah, no. Again, as far as the history, again, like my degree is in history. I'm fascinated with history.
Right.
Studied history my entire life for decades, and in no way would I say any censorship of history, any alteration which is kind of hard to say because, like, honestly, history is one of the things that it's impossible there is no objective history. Like, no matter any history is going to be that there's some perspective mixed in just by the nature of retelling what happened before. But yeah, as far as any knowingly alteration of history, absolutely not. Any censorship, no. Obviously, you teach, you try to teach history as accurately as possible, and the reasons why things happened, and unfortunately, it is one of those things. It's impossible to be 100% objective. But again, I would just go back to saying that. So yeah, there's history. History is one thing,
right?
And critical race theory is another thing. It's
but
completely possible. It's absolutely. Right? What's that?
I said, but with critical race theory, they use in theory based off history, though, right?
Based off, I mean, yeah, you could say that in that. Well, I feel like any social science is going to be. Everything's based off history because we're human beings, so it's all based off the existence of human beings. But they're not one and the same. Is what I'm saying. You can absolutely teach accurate history, excluding nothing. Not overlooking anything. Not
systematic oppression instead of a prejudice, like, oh, I'm black, you white. You see what I'm saying? It's based on basically, I don't have to say anything about you. I'll just come through here and raise the taxes that your grandma owned over here for 40 years. She owned the house for 40 years. Now the neighborhood rise up and it become a better neighborhood, and they rise their taxes to 10,000. So now they wipe us out of this neighborhood that we helped build up. You see what I'm saying? That's part of legislation. Because the politics ain't nothing but exchange for funds that's getting allocated. That's it. I vote for you, you give me something. I don't vote for you and you just tell me what, right? Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, I mean, when you distill it to its simplest version, politics and the government is essentially just the monopolization of power.
That's
it's
where we want to put the money.
Legitimizing power. Yeah. So we try to set up a system that can mitigate the most evil parts of that as much as possible. But yeah, it's based on its force. It's based on force and the monopolization of force. Yeah.
No representation, no taxation without representation.
Well, that's why we're a country. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Hey, Ox, guess what's trending on my Twitter, Ox? You wouldn't believe what's trending. What I tell you? Guess what's trending? Can you see it?
No, what is that? Reparations.
Tell you, man, we're gonna get it.
Shit.
The economy. We're gonna stimulate the economy.
Like I said, I'm not against reparations. I just don't believe it's ever gonna happen.
Oh, it's gonna happen. We're gonna get it. It's in talks. It's okay.
Okay.
When we get it, we're gonna put America gonna be great again. We're gonna stimulate the economy. We're gonna put all the money back in America. We don't.
Do you think it matters who wins the election for that to go through? Do you think that that the president or the party in power is going to either?
It matters. I think it matters what people demand out of their vote. We want tangibles. We tired of this nothing burger or bunching us in with people. Okay, you minority been a trick word since the civil rights movement. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You bunch us in with people, and that's not right. Because a person is a homosexual, he's a minority. A white woman's a minority. A black, you know what I'm saying? Anybody could be in that group. You see what I'm saying? We don't want to be in that group to where we got to be a part of everything. You see what I'm saying? Tell us what you got for me.
Right.
That's all. Right. We just want tangibles. And we don't mind no other group getting their money or their tangibles. I support the Asian crime bill or the Jews getting their reparations for Holocaust, the Indians getting their money. I support all that.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I support justice for all. You see what I mean? But when it come to us, it's a whole bunch of chicken nuggets and Megan Thee Stallion and Beyonce here, and that don't mean nothing. It should be no more concerts at no more political conventions anymore.
Whew, but that shit pissed me off, bro.
We can kick it after we talk business. We didn't. Oh yeah, we settled a deal, 100 million. Yep, we could go twerk it up. You could bring Sexy Red out there for all I care. Once we handle business, we get up here and get to eating butter jack nuggets, and they have a fish fry, and Joe Biden or somebody kiss a baby, and everybody just you know what I'm saying? We need some tangibles. This is the year for tangibles for Americans. We gonna need some. We ain't about to just keep doing that. And that go for immigrants that's legal, migrants that's legally here. They're American too. You know what I'm saying? They don't want them people over here from where they came from that be messing up. Because we don't want certain people in our community. That we want them dusty. We want them out of here. You stealing, you're breaking their houses, you're hurting old people. We want you out. We want you out. You know what I'm saying?
Regardless of race.
Regardless of race. So the people who came over here worked hard and to put their family in position, they don't want them people pulling up, messing up, making it look bad for them. You see what I'm saying? They don't want that to happen.
Yeah, no doubt. You got anything else before we move on, Primo?
No, that's it, man. I'm gonna land my plane. You know, I'm in the casino parking lot. I'm about to go in and do my thing, man.
Hey, you know what? You being at the casino must be why I found these scratchers a second ago. I just hit on this one, so I'm gonna.
What's your favorite number?
My favorite shit, 12.
Oh, what? Yours too? Yeah, I know I'm about to win the lane.
Yeah,
I love 12.
Yeah, what you playing? You about to play some blackjack, roulette, craps table, poker? Roulette.
Everything else too slow for me.
Yeah, no doubt. For sure. What shit? Y'all be safe, bro.
It's a good show, man. Salute the Pirate. Salute the Ox. Real positivity. All the negative shows. Y'all should support this just like y'all support Ox Court, Ticket TV, calling people out their name and all that. Get up here and start supporting this.
Yeah, no doubt. Appreciate you, bro.
Good to see you.
All right.
Yeah, that's what's up. Okay. So that was some good talk. We got my man Breezy still to pull up. Let's see what Breezy got for us. What up, Breezy?
Yo, man, I gotta say, man, I'm glad my quote lasts this long. Shout out to Big Ox, shout out to Pirate. This is a great show. I feel like I'm getting educated, you know what I'm saying, just listening to this show, the different perspectives and views from the fans. I'm glad, you know what I mean, to be able to listen to everybody that jumped on the panel, listen to you and Pirate go back and forth. Please hit that like button for my guy Big Ox. You know what I'm saying, Pirate. Before I pulled up, I was just doing research. I was looking at all of the different parties. It was a lot of parties, you know what I mean? Too many to mention, you know what I mean? But now it's only 2 parties. But to what Big Ox said, yeah, I agree, you know what I mean? Taking jobs out of the warehouse, not the warehouse, but like building cars in Detroit and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? That was essential to the economy. And, you know, I think universally, you know what I mean? People are people and want the same things. I ain't tripping about who come here. I mean, it's the states that's supposed to be united. We supposed to be united. They call it the United States, you know what I mean? So if they're going to call it the United States as a people, we should be united. You know what I mean? But, you know, I said all that to say people should be educated about what it is to be a liberal, what it is to be conservative. And to the point, if there is swing states, I want to see a debate. Like, If it's a swing state and we can't decide, we need to have a dust up. We need to pick some topics and talk about it. You know what I'm saying? I'm pulling up to the derby ready to kick up dust. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm ready to stand on what I believe. I'm telling the people this is what I'm telling the people. You telling the people that. So you know what I'm saying? Now we in the swing state. So I already got people that back me. You got people that back you. But the swing state, let's fight for that. And I think picking topics for them to debate, I would like to see that more too. You know what I mean? I said all that to say that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, when I was younger, it used to be, man, I kind of feel sorry for some of younger people because I can tell it's impossible to tell some of these differences. But when I was younger, the debates were run by the League of Women's Voters, which was
hold
essentially,
on, before you, Pirate, who exactly is the League of Women Voters? I never even heard of them.
Yeah, no, so that was like a nonprofit organization, basically independent. We are basically independent. But it was the news and TV used to be much different than it is today. It's hard for young people to understand. But these presidential debates, it used to be they would have multiple debates, like 3, 4, 5 debates. They would have a whole. They would say, okay, now this debate's going to be just on the economy, and the candidates are going to sit down for like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. We're just going to sit down. We're going to go over economy. Then a couple weeks later, we'll have a debate that's just on, immigration or whatever one of the biggest issues of that election is going to be, and really hammer it home and really get the policies, talk about the policies, go in and out. I feel like voters used to be much more educated and aware of what was going on than today.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
From when you talking about the past, opposed to the youth not knowing, and just the era that you're discussing, which I'm not sure the accurate number or date you're talking about, but whatever you're talking
80s,
about,
90s.
80s, 90s. Okay, is there a difference between the swing states from then to now? As in, is there more swing states now than it was then? Because there's a lot of different things that's happening right now where people may not agree. So that's why I'm asking, did it become more swing states as of recent?
Well, so during Reagan's administration, there were no swing states because Reagan won every fucking state in the country.
All right, so what was his Reagan's years? What was his years exactly?
80 to 88.
80 to 88. Okay, so swing states came after
Reagan won his second election 515 to 15 or something. He lost one state in the country.
Man, that's the ass kicking.
Yeah, that was he was putting up Will Chamberlain numbers. He was putting up Will Chamberlain numbers. So
do you know what state it was?
It was Minnesota. That's why I never trust Minnesota. Never trust Minnesota. That was the one state that didn't vote for him. I would say the divide that we see generally today really came about in 2000. The kind of map, the general map that we see in these past elections, are from George Bush in 2000 onward. Between 92 and 2000 was weird because I would bet a lot of the young people don't know that Ross Perot was a third-party candidate during those two elections that had a huge influence on. He was actually a third-party guy who got like 20-25% of the vote.
So, hold on. When you say third party, you mean not Democratic or Republican? So what was his party?
No, he was the what the fuck was his party? It was like the Patriot, or I'd have to look it up. It was it doesn't exist anymore. It was basically just for him.
Okay.
But he was in both elections, and he swung both elections where in 92 and in 96, Bill Clinton won with like 39% of the vote, I think he got, and won the presidency. So that map was a little weird. But yeah, the map that we see today is really between since 2000 to today. It's a similar map to what we see these days. As far as and again, the most influential states, the Rust Belt, when you're talking Michigan, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and then Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. Those
So
have
you
kind of
saw
been
it's like less than 10 swing states?
less than 10, yeah, less than 10. Around 10, 7 to 10.
Shit, that's important. That's a lot.
Yeah. But it changes. I mean, throughout American history, it's evolved, and it's kind of switched back and forth depending on the candidates and the issues.
Well,
Except for Reagan, because Reagan just won.
Yeah, that's I ain't want to hold you, man. Yo, but I did want to pull up real quick. Yo, shout out to Big Ox, shout out to Pirate, man. This show fire. I hope y'all hitting that like button, man. And yeah, thank you, Big Ox. So I heard the shout out before I pulled up, man. Yeah, man. Please sub to my page, and sub to that Big Ox page too, man. I hope y'all subbing up. You know what I mean? All right, man. Thank you, Big Ox. Thank you, Pirate.
So no doubt.
Yeah, man. Good to hear from you.
As always, we appreciate your insight on these type things, man, no doubt. And like you said, make sure you subbing, because like I said, I check my analytics, and for real, only like for real, I've been looking at my analytics. They say like 54% of the people that watch my content aren't even sub. It's real easy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's real easy to sub, real easy. But all right, Breezy, appreciate you, fam.
All right, later.
You know what? Before we let our next guest up, I just want to say this to y'all. If you are watching and you're not subbed, I hope you get up to go use the bathroom tonight and stub your toe on the edge of your bed. That's what I hope. I hope you stub your toe on the edge of your bed tonight when you get up to use the restroom. Our next guest, y'all know him very well. You know him very, very well. My man, J-Rob. What's up, fam?
What's good, y'all? AKA J Thug in the building. What's
J
good,
Thug.
Pirate?
Hey, how's it going, man?
I'm good. To be honest, Ox, let me first say, I always love what you're doing, bro. Make sure I leave that sub. Make sure y'all like. And if you don't, like he said, man, kick rocks, stub your toe, and all of that. Gotta make sure that gets done. Personally, I said in the chat that I felt like if you black and you vote for Trump, that I think you might be a little brainwashed. And Ox, your response was, if you're black and you vote Democrat, you might be brainwashed. And see,
No. Real quick, J-Rob. Let me make sure.
You feel like you have to vote Democrat.
If you're black, you feel like you have to vote
Democrat. So
go ahead.
I just want to say that wasn't what I was trying to imply by saying what I said, but I do think it's always common. It is the common thing to do to say that if you say one way, then that means you're going for the other thing. That's not really what I'm here to do. I don't care that if somebody votes for RFK or vote for whoever else. I think my issue when it comes to Trump, however, the reason why I do mention the black part of it is, don't get me wrong, we've had these conversations. I don't believe the Democratic Party has sold colored people any type of anything they selling, like I've never felt like the Democratic Party has done anything for our community. I don't feel like they've really honed in on a lot of the promises that they have tried to sell our communities on. However, I do think the thing about Trump, that where we're at right now specifically, because I think because of the way Joe Biden worked out for a lot of black Americans who felt like nothing was changed, I think now more than ever, they're like, well, maybe I will rock with Trump because Biden ain't do nothing. And for some people, and this is really just about education, like for people who believe that Donald Trump, and this is why I'm really saying this to my young black men out there, because I feel like a lot of us are not really educated in what's going on, and they just see a lot of stuff that they see from just comments and stuff. But like, for example, people think they about to get a stimulus package or something. Some people are really want Trump back for the simple fact of getting some sort of compensation that they think they're getting. This is based in ignorance, because they thought during COVID, Trump was handing out all of this money with PPP loans and all of that stuff. But it was Democratic Congress that made sure all these black folk got PPP loans. Obviously, the administration at the time was Trump, but, that handout that people are expecting to get from Trump, that's not really going to come. And I think the other reason why I mentioned, like, if you're voting for Trump and you're black, there might be, you might be a little brainwashed, is because, see, that's the thing. I didn't say I was voting for Kamala. I want to make sure I've not said that I'm voting for Kamala Harris. So for anybody in the chat that is asking me about what is Kamala going to do and this and that, I didn't say I was voting for Kamala. I actually don't know what I'm going to put on that damn paper. But the reason why I am saying these things against Trump is because the biggest thing for me, there's two moments significantly that if anybody's been paying attention throughout this whole campaign, the one thing I had an issue with, and I think people need to take into account, is that Trump is considering exonerating the police. I think not holding our law enforcement accountable could lead to a slippery slope for my kind. You feel me? And I think that could be dangerous for our communities, because when you're in control of a weapon or a firearm, something that can cause harm to somebody, you can't make a mistake, because that could end somebody's life or leave permanent harm to somebody. And we've seen that happen in the past. So I think as a black man, if one of Trump's policies in the 4 years, he wants to make sure police aren't held responsible when they're on the line of duty. I feel like in good consciousness, I personally could not do that. I couldn't in good conscience vote for somebody who, we've seen the police brutality in this country. And so because of that, I really couldn't stand and vote for somebody who wants to really disregard the irresponsibilities of certain people in law enforcement. And then the second thing for me that was truly alarming is, I don't know if you saw like the Black Caucus convention, where they had Trump and he was around all those black women and they were asking him questions. And really, it was a great opportunity to me for Trump to be able to dispel any of the racist rhetoric that was, attached to him, that he wanted to potentially clear up. And honestly, Ox, I do feel like it was a great opportunity for him to clear things up, because we're at a time where, I do think a lot of black people want to find a reason to like him. So I think he could have said a lot of the right things in that moment to those questions. And truthfully, when the young lady was asking him about, from the casinos to everything that has happened throughout his career, his only response was to deflect from the answers and say that there's been bad reporting, when some of this stuff are, you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of this stuff is out there. And I also think Trump is a bit of a liar. Like, I don't think everything he says is actually correct. Like he referenced that we might be ending up in a depression. That's not what's going to happen. He's talked about our economy, but our economy over the last year has been, since COVID, I mean, to be completely honest, unlike most countries, we're one of the fastest recovering from COVID in the entire world. So I'm not saying I'm voting for Kamala, and I don't want people to think like I'm trying to sell y'all on Kamala. I'm trying to just sell y'all to really expand who y'all want to put y'all vote in place with. And I just don't think that for Black Americans, I personally just don't think Trump is the type of guy to be, leading us. And truthfully, if I could pick, if I could pick, I would vote for RFK, bro. That's who I would love to see in office, bro. I would have loved to see RFK in office. I thought he would be great for all parties.
I will say this, and just to reiterate to everybody watching, I'm not a political expert. and I'm not trying to tell you who to vote for and who not to vote for. I will say that, and I'm going to ask you this, Pirate, first. Does Trump have the power to say, "Oh, we're just not going to prosecute anybody that does wrongdoing"? First, with that being said, also, the only reason I have an issue with who's the president is going to affect what police do is because I saw so many black citizens murdered by police when Barack Obama wasn't president. And he didn't do shit about it. You know what I'm saying? He didn't do shit about the police that killed Tamir Rice. You know what I'm saying? And that always pissed me off. You know what I'm saying? And so that's my thing. Like I just don't know if who's in power is going to change the way police do their job. You know what I mean?
But do you think full exoneration could amplify it? You know, if you know that if I'm on the line of duty, right? Like, let's say, for example, Ox, like you walking down the street and a cop wants to, like, he's under suspicion that you're a person of interest, and he stops you, and you being just like, you confused. You know what I'm saying? You're not. Why are you stopping me? And he uses unnecessary levels of force, and he hurts you. Do you think that was going to? Do you think that would have happened regardless, or do you think maybe?
Yeah, I think you just got certain type of people that are police officers that are going to do what they want regardless, and I think you got good cops that are going to do the right thing regardless. You know what I mean? So that's just how I look at it. I could be wrong, but I don't really think like who's in power, who's the president, is going to change a good cop into a bad cop. You know what I mean?
I just worried about the irresponsibility of it all. You feel me? I don't want nobody abusing the power that they have because they know that if I mess up here, I'm gonna go to sleep and sleep well at night. Sound. I just think that could be.
Yeah. So I did see him. I did see him elaborate that. I did see him elaborate that there was not as far as criminal abuse. That's not what he was talking about. But I
don't want that to
frankly,
that makes me a little nervous. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's something that would actually.
I mean, most police actions are a state and local issue. There are no police of America other than the FBI. But aside from the FBI, that's a state and local issue. I would also say, as far as the recovery. And this is people get so tied up in like personalities and what these politicians, their backstories and that kind of stuff, and kind of miss the point of what like a president actually does and doesn't do and has the power to do. I would say that a decent chunk of America's recovery is due to Trump's the TCJA. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. That was probably the most impactful thing of his administration. And again, like it just the way the American public works, we tend not to talk about the things that are actually impactful and focus on the hot headlines. But so yeah, Biden's economy these last 4 years have been under Trump's tax plan that he set up, which I'm a pretty big fan of. I would say that was, as far as the underlying recovery, that plan actually went a long ways towards us being able to bounce back to the extent that we have now. It's not quite as rosy as they've been saying. I don't know if you saw, but the Fed just came out yesterday saying that they actually overestimated the job growth by 800,000.
Listen, most of my issues with Trump have nothing to do with economics, y'all. You feel me? It's never been about money. For me, it's majority social. That's really where it all boils down to for me. And that's only because instinctually I feel like I have to look at the best interest of my people. You know what I'm saying? It's not because if it's economics, I'm with you, Pirates. I live in Los Angeles, brother. You feel
Right.
me? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if it's economics, I'm all the way there with a lot of people when it comes to money, tax cuts. Like, listen, I live in Cali. I get that part of it all. Like,
Right.
but it's just, I'm personally concerned about just some of the, I'm just concerned about the social aspect. You feel me? Like, that's the only thing that really concerns me the most.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. I would. Yeah. And we all.
That's
We
all.
all look at different things. I tend to be more of a when I look at politicians and government.
Right,
I tend to focus on the kind of the nuts and the bolts. What are
yeah,
the actual policies that you're going to put on paper
yeah.
and how? And the way that this stuff works is there's always going to be
Checks and
there's a
balances.
delay, right? Like once you pass
Yeah.
a law, usually it's going to take a few years for the whole
Yep.
ripple down effect
Yeah, I agree.
to take place.
Yeah,
So.
I agree. Hey, well, fellas, I appreciate y'all letting me come up here, man. It was good to chop it up with y'all for a second, man. Make sure I
Yeah,
leave
man.
that like
No
button,
Yeah.
doubt,
y'all,
no
for
doubt.
sure.
Good to
Make sure I
talk to
leave
you
that
again.
like button, man. I love these conversations, man. So I'll see y'all later,
Yeah,
man.
man. Thanks for
Holla at
coming
me.
in.
Yeah, of course, always, bro.
All right, J-Rob, I appreciate you pulling
Yeah,
up,
holla at
man.
me. Yes, sir.
Right on, right on. That was great. That was a great conversation to have, y'all. Once again, I want to remind y'all, like, this is not for me to try to tell y'all who to vote for. Like I said at the beginning, I'm feeling like not voting for anybody. You know, that's how I feel right now. We are gonna wrap it up here soon, but Kenny did stick around in the lobby. I think he wants to talk a little bit more about the critical race theory. So I'm gonna let him come up and give you a couple minutes to get that off your chest, Kenny. And then we'll get out of here, y'all. Let's see what's going on with Kenny. What up, Kenny?
What's good? Yeah, I stuck around. And not only did I stick around, I took that time to make sure to fact check myself just to make sure I'm not saying stuff out my ass and stuff like that. So thing about critical race theory, is something that I believe should be taught in schools. Granted, I think it should be. I think it should be taught in schools, but more importantly, even if someone disagrees, I think it should not be banned. I think if it's not a required curriculum, it should be something that should at least be an optional thing for someone to take, whether it be an elective or something, or maybe even a subsect of a history class, things of that nature, or even a literature or classes of that nature. And the reason why I think the banning of it is so harmful is if you look at the current bans that are being placed on it, they're very vague and they're actually trying to ban concepts, not even the teaching of the critical race theory itself. They're trying to ban whole concepts when it comes to critical race theory. And the thing that I really want people to understand is what exactly critical race theory is, which by definition is critical race theory is a core idea that race is a social construct, that racism is not merely the product of individual bias or prejudice, but also something embedded in legal system and policies, and how that affects things, especially when it comes to America, where a lot of the things that we have instituted and that we are still dealing with to this day are affected by these either racial or systemically racist ideals. And Pirate, you said earlier, and I quoted it. You said like history should be taught uncensored, but without critical race theory. But how do you explain certain government decisions that were done throughout history without that aspect of what the actual core idea of critical race theory is? So how can you explain certain government actions without critical race theory? Like, for example, in the 1930s, the amount of people who were systemically and looked over when it came to mortgage loans, aka redlining, that was made it so people cannot buy their own homes, and they were discriminated against by the fact that certain neighborhoods and certain locations were deemed um, they were deemed either unworthy or deemed as a automatic deny based off of their proximity to Black people or the likelihood of Black people being inhabited in those areas. And if you were someone who was trying to receive a loan in that area, you would just be denied if you were someone who was Black. And that is and those type of policies that stemmed from that crisis in 1930 still affects us to today due to the zoning laws from single family and multifamily homes, and how single family homes are primarily put in districts that are predominantly white, and multifamily homes, i.e. apartment buildings or condos, are more likely banned in those areas because of the zoning laws, which raises the price of those single family homes and limits the availability of those homes, and also the accessibility of those homes for people of color. So those things that happened in the past and part of history still affect us today with policies that are trickled on today. So I'm just trying to make it short because, like I say, we're trying to wrap this up and things of that nature. I just don't see how we can teach history, like you said, uncensored and the truth history, without adding the core tenets and the core ideas of critical race theory with it. Because it's not about saying, oh, white people are bad. No, it's saying how racism affected our history and how those racist tendencies and how those decisions made by people in power affect the people today. Because a lot of these things and issues that are coming and are still going through today, like I said, with the housing crisis, stemmed from trying to limit the production or the prosperity of people of color, but are affecting people who aren't of people of color as well, because people can't buy a house because housing prices are so high in the zoning laws that prevent multifamily houses, or even raising the prices of single family houses becomes so high. You can't separate those two without being either disingenuous or not telling the whole story of said history.
Yeah, well, so I think you just did it. So you can easily you can recount the objective history without the deal is critical race theory adds the presumptive inevitability that the system was this way, had to be this way based on the intrinsic qualities of the races, and it will always be this way. So, I mean, you basically, you just did it. You can absolutely recount what's happened in history, and you can dive into all of the multitude of factors that go into everything that's ever happened in history. You know, it's everything is a confluence of a ton of factors coming together. Critical theory is quite specifically is prescriptive. It prescribes a reason to why these things happened and will continue to happen inevitably. I feel like that factor. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not that you don't teach everything that you just said. It's not that you ignore it. You don't ignore what's happened in history. But a theory is a philosophy that prescribes the reasons too. And that, again, as far as teaching has changed. I feel like it used to, the goal of a teacher used to be to at least a greater extent, and I think it should be. Teachers are supposed to teach you how to think, not what to think. So if you have an economic class, like I wouldn't say don't not teach kids economics. Okay, you want to teach kids economics, but you don't want to have a teacher that is aligned with a particular philosophy. Like you're a communist teacher, and so you have a public school to teach economics through the communist lens, or even the other. I'm more of like an Austrian economics. That's kind of the discipline that I follow the most. But at the same time, like I wouldn't feel it was right, even though I personally think it's right or better. You know, I don't think it would be right to teach public kids through a lens like that, if you know what I'm saying. So again, it's not about avoiding history. You still are able to talk about everything that happened in history. It's just not doing it through a particular philosophical lens, if that makes sense.
Okay, but I feel like that's almost like you say you're teaching.
Well, my question to you is, why are you equating just recounting that history? Why are you equating that to critical race theory?
Because the connections made, legislation that was passed, and the actions that were caused,
That's just,
the connections.
that's just history.
No, the actions themselves are history. So saying that back in the 1930s there was a decrease in 1930, there was a vast portion amount of black people who got accepted for loans compared to people who aren't black. That is the history. Why that happened is critical race theory. That is where you make that connection.
No.
That is where you make that connection.
Why that happened is still just history.
But I think you can it's not it is history, but critical race theory can help. It helps explain why that happened due to the fact of racism, and also how systemic racism affects systemic racism affects people of color and things of that nature, and it lets and how said laws and legislations impacts people who are minorities or people who are deemed as the oppressed in that situation. It's you can talk about both and recount the history, but making the connection between both is what part of critical race theory is. And with teaching kids, I with kids so often, they struggle making those connections. They struggle making those connections of why something or that something happened and why something happened. We can all understand.
Well,
and that's where we help.
I agree. Yeah, children are very impressionable, and that's why we seriously need we need to have a laser focus on keeping as much ideology out of public education as possible, because children are extremely impressionable, and
so
your personal values should be as much as possible kept out of public education. I mean, that's only fair. I mean, again, I bring it back to you wouldn't support your tax dollars going to a public teacher teaching Nazi ideology in a classroom, right? Or
no, I wouldn't. But at the same time, for years, people, public school teachers, were teaching that Columbus found America, which is factually wrong. That's just factually wrong. But so it's like there's.
I feel like that's a gross simplification. I mean, nobody
nobody
thought that he just found it. He found it for Europe. As far as a European finding it, I mean, everyone knows that it existed before Columbus landed on America.
Okay, but what I'm saying is like how it is taught in school. Like we can understand the same and from outside portion. Like you said, I could recount like how redlining affected black people and things of that nature. I can recount that. We understand how that happened and why that happened. But how it is taught in schools and that nature is completely different than us, because that additional information is not being provided. For example, when for the longest time, and I remember that my mom, when I was in school, my mom told me, do not let them tell you that Christopher Columbus discovered America, because that's just wrong. And literally later that same week, Christopher Columbus Day was coming up, and there was something that was coming up. Later that same week, they were saying Christopher Columbus discovered America. And outside of that, because I think that is a rabbit hole, and just kind of going away from the point that I'm trying to make, is that you're saying that personal opinion, things that nature out of it. But what's already being pumped into our public education system is our own American propaganda when it comes to things. Like, think about how we talk about World War II. We talk about, we leave out a lot of the information and the wrongs that we did as Americans when it comes to the Japanese internment camps that we had in our own country, or or even going to the depths of the atrocities that Japan did in the Eastern, and its main focus on how America came in, stopped World War II, destroyed the Germans, and made the Russians scared. That is how it is taught in schools. I have been around public educators and things of that nature who struggle to, like you said, your degree is in history, correct? I have one of my biggest mentors is also
one second, Kenny. Real quick, sorry to intervene. Yo, Pirate. I got you on mute right now. But I'm gonna let you could you when you're not talking, could you go ahead and mute yourself and then just unmute yourself when you're ready to talk? Because I don't know when you want to talk, so I don't want to have to keep doing it. But you got like a real buzz going on.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. You go ahead. You take the deal. Go ahead, Kenny.
Okay, hold on. Train of thought. One of my biggest mentors is not only like huge history man, teaches world history, African studies, a whole bunch of stuff like that. And has told me multiple times how and public educators are allowed to teach based off of being in those confines of either not teaching with critical race theory, how he has to leave out so many things because of the bans and things and concepts that he cannot teach. And it has nothing to do with his personal views. He's just like, I can literally factually not recount this situation because I will get in trouble based off of these requirements on that ban. Or how I've been told my entire life that dishwashers will never. What the heck? Oh, okay. Oh, that was weird. That's throw me completely off. What was that?
No, fair enough. Hey, let me just jump in. Yeah, you can continue, but let me just jump in as I think we're agreeing on some things that aren't coming through and not quite pinpoint the disagreement. But let me put it this way: as a historian, I feel like the number one lesson that you learn, the more you study history, is the less that you know. It's one of those things that I mean, you can look at think of it this way: just like any news story that comes out yesterday, just something that happens just yesterday. If you go and talk to 10 different people, you're probably gonna get like 10 different versions of what exactly happened yesterday, right? So obviously, the further back you go in history, that just compounds exponentially more and more. So part of history, learning history, and teaching history is a certain sense of humility that you don't know exactly how and why virtually anything happened, which is why we need to be disciplined in removing our own biases and interpretations as much as possible. And so it sounds like what you're considering censorship, I suppose. I don't see it that way. Again, it's like you state the facts as accurately as you know them, but you try to minimize the any personal ideology and repercussions as much as possible. Not to keep the kids ignorant at all. It's just to give them the factual basis of history, and then hopefully, as human beings, hopefully, you got the things that you're interested. You look into more and more of, and you get more and more perspectives. Like that's one thing in history. Like if you're interested in something, like to really learn about it, you should really go and try to read what 10 different people or what 20 different people said about this one thing, right? But you can't do that in a classroom because there's one teacher and 30 students. And that is the reason why in public education, it's very important to limit the personal interpretation of the teacher onto the students. It's just a fundamental principle that in my view is very important.
Kenny, you there?
Muted. Sorry. I could agree with that to an extent. Like you said, we have some agreements on, I think, a grander scale. I think where our disagreement is that I don't believe critical race theory is someone putting their personal bias into it. I think it's teaching an aspect and outlook on viewing certain historical events, and I just think that's where we disagree. I think it's critical race context.
But I would say an outlook is inherently personal ideology. It just has to be as a human being. It's the only way it can be.
So okay, so if we were to look at a historical event from an economic point of view, we're going to see how it played out differently than if we approached it from the same way from a scientific point of view. If we looked at the creation of the nuclear bomb, for example, and we look from the economic standpoint and how the creation of nuclear bomb has led to the most amount of spending on a military ever conceived by the U.S. government. And we're just thinking that from a money standpoint. And then that's one way of looking at the creation of the atomic bomb. If we look at the atomic bomb from a scientific standpoint, you can see the technological marvel it is of being able to split the atom to create such destructive force and put it in such a payload that could cause not just concussive damage, but radioactive damage, things of that nature. That's one outlook of looking at it. Critical race theory is another outlook of looking at a certain historical event. It's just another perspective through a framework of that's different. That's all that is. It's like you can look at it from someone who has economic, from scientific, from a pure historical, from a political standpoint, and then critical race standpoint. How all those things are impacted with each other. That's just another way of looking at it. How you can even make it philosophical standpoint of how creating the atomic bomb has really shown the barbarity of man and how we're quick to destroy each other and things of that nature. It's another way of looking at historical events, and I don't see anything wrong with that.
Well, again, it's just because the point of history class is again, it's nuts and bolts, as accurate factual information as possible, relayed without personal bias, and I mean that's just the point of history, which is, and again, so we're going back to, we're talking about public education. Public education has an extra responsibility to be as apolitical as possible because it's involuntarily funded. It's funded by the taxes of everybody. So, in private schools, if you're a private school and you want to set whatever curriculum you want, that's fine with me because you're a private institution. Public institutions have a responsibility to serve the public as a whole because they're taking their funding from the public as a whole. There's really an extra. There should be an extra responsibility to keep it as apolitical as possible. Public school is just state-sponsored school. If you think like Hitler Youth was public education. That's public education. The Chinese Party of the Communist Party of China, that's public education. It's just the state taking your kids and teaching you whatever the state decides to teach them. So in America, hopefully, we have the values that, in our public institutions, we want to keep politics and personal opinion to the barest of minimums. We should, because otherwise it's one of those things where and again, I'll go back to the point of view where, like, if you gave me the power to go into public schools and just teach every single subject exactly the way that I view the world, that sounds like it would be great power, but that is something I would absolutely abhor to do because that's not what public education. Public education can be very dangerous. Let me put it that way.
Right.
And so to avoid that danger, we need to make it as apolitical as possible.
Right. Kenya, I appreciate you pulling up again, fam. Giving your takes and whatnot. I'm gonna move on. We got one more guest we're gonna get to before we shut down. I'm gonna let
hey, thanks, Kenny.
Hey, no
I'm gonna let Dr. J up and let him do his thing. Appreciate you, fam.
Hey, Dr. J.
Might be Julius himself. We'll see.
Shit.
Yo, what's good?
Hey, what's up? Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, bet. Nah, it just happened to happen that way where the Dr. J happened. It took me a long time to realize that just freakily happened like that. So I just wanted to provide clarity on the points that I'm making in the chat real quick. Give me 1 second. My hands are full. Give me a second. I know, girl. Hold on.
Yeah, I haven't really seen it. What points are you making in the chat?
So, and this is just to explain my position because I don't want to sound like I'm trying
this is Justin, right?
Yeah, this is Justin. Dr. J.
Okay, for sure. Yep.
So, just to explain the position clearly. So the way fascism works is it focuses on othering a group and blaming another group for your economic issues when it's actually being caused by internal issues within your country. So you focus on the problems of why we don't have these material needs, why we lack these material needs, why we constantly dealing with inflation if everything's going so well. If billionaires are making more money, why are they still raising the prices, right? And so what starts to happen is you start getting an outgroup, a designated outgroup. This could be immigrants, minorities, anyone that is easily for the population to associate. This is the failure for our economic model. And what fascists will do is use that outgroup to maintain power, to turn you all away from actually critically critiquing the economic model for why the material conditions are the way they are. So I was making that statement, especially with the comments about immigrants, focusing on immigrants and the effects that they have on the economy. If you read any actual studies on it, you would know that immigrants actually boost local economies. That's actually just not true. Get what I'm saying? So that's why I wanted to clear that up because you're right, that is a wild allegation to make without clearing that part up.
Yeah, no doubt.
Oh, you weren't calling us fascists, were you? Or me?
There you go, What'd you say?
Yeah, you were calling us fascists, were you? Or me in particular?
No. I said it's a fascist talking point. I wasn't calling you a fascist.
Okay.
It's just it's one that people pick up easily because it's easily digestible and you don't realize that you're right. Propagating that. Does that make sense? Because when you think about it, you're like, shit, they getting that? Motherfucker, my baby. Sure. I'm putting two and two together. That makes sense from an anecdotal point of view. That's all.
Yeah, no. I mean, there's definitely some sense there. I would say that, at least in my lifetime, over the last 10 years, I've not seen a particular word quite gain the fire like fascism has over the last decade. It's, true fascism really has a very specific meaning. I mean, have you studied Mussolini?
Yeah, I actually mentioned them in the chat because they have a lot of similarities. Yeah.
So I mean, so fascism is actually a pretty specific thing, and it's a pretty fairly specific combination of state ownership and ethnocentrism and expansionistic policies that a lot of things are kind of called fascism. I would say that just asking for secure borders for your country, just labeling that as fascist would be wrong, because again, I tried to address it. It's really not a racial thing. It's a population thing. When you said that, so again, there's always going to be two or three ways to look at things. Immigration can produce more, obviously. Like if we just immigrate, if the entire population of Mexico immigrated to America tomorrow, then the nation of America would presumably produce more goods, right, as a whole, but that would not filter down to the individual citizens of the country on a proportional scale. You understand what I'm saying? So when you say that immigration raises production, in a sense, that's true because you're adding more people to the machine, but out of the people who are in the country, you're not able to pull the same out of the machine.
So for clarity, I said local because they will still be taxed by local taxes, sales tax and things of that nature. That's actually how that would work. I'm not getting
But they're not being taxed federally.
Yeah, they're not being taxed federally. Also, billionaires are not being taxed. Let me finish. Billionaires are also not being taxed federally. So we're also not saying that's problematic from the way this conversation is going. Billionaires don't pay taxes. So will we say that they're leeching?
Billionaire. You do understand that the vast majority of taxes that are paid by the rich in America.
They don't prepare the vast majority is actually paid by the middle class. They don't pay no more near their proportion. That's why they're able to make record profits every year.
No, the top 5% of America pay the vast majority of taxes.
I'm sorry, that's why they're able to make record profits every year because they're not taxed proportionally. They have loopholes that they can exploit because they have access to capital, so they don't pay their proportion in taxes. They do not. They do not pay what an average working American would pay in taxes. This is not true. I'm sorry.
You can absolutely look that up, or maybe Bob can look
you can.
That up.
Yes, there's again studies on this. You can look that up. They do not. They
do look up what percentage of the
like
taxes are paid by the top 5% of America.
Elon Trump had paid like a couple hundred sometimes in taxes. That mathematically wouldn't happen in this proportion. They do not, because this all started with the Reagan administration. That's what I'm saying. They do not.
Bob, are you able to pull that up?
They do not.
Yeah, I'm looking through it right now. I'll just remind you though. Pirate, whenever Dr. Whenever talks on if you could just mute up and then.
Let me mute up because I know I got background noise. Give me a second.
Well, it's not like I'm not. It's okay. Like it's just Pirates. He has the buzzing when somebody else talks. So but if you want to, you can mute up as well whenever you're not speaking. But I'm gonna go ahead and look. I'm looking through this. Oh shit! What happened? Device not connected. I think he'll be back in a second. But I am looking for that right now, Pirate. I got the website up right now. Let me see what I can find. Okay. Oh well. This says second quintile, middle quintile, top quintile, lowest quintile. I'm gonna share this and let me see. As a whole, U.S. tax code remains progressive. Okay. It does look like the top 1% actually pay 31% of the taxes, which is more. You are muted, Pirate.
There we go.
You are mute, Pirate.
Oops, wrong camera.
Yeah, and if you stretch that out, the top 1% is like 30%. If you look at the top 5%, that's going to be like 75% of the taxes.
I'm actually about to share it right now, y'all. Let me share it real quick, and then I'll show y'all. This is what I found here. All income groups pay taxes, but overall, the U.S. federal tax system is progressive. This is federal taxes here, and it says that, it says that the top 1%, top quintile. So this is split up into quintiles. So yeah, it shows here that the top two, so the top 1% and the top quintile pay 36% of the taxes.
36%. That's not.
No, I'm sorry. I mean 66%. I'm sorry. 56. I'm tripping. 56. my math. So yeah,
my question
that's a big disparity.
So that sounds good when you actually look at the loopholes and realize, although the law says they will pay the most, they're afforded a lot of loopholes and the access
No,
as capital gives
bro,
them
these
access.
are the
That's what
actual
I'm trying to say.
dollars that are coming into the government.
Yeah, this isn't saying who should pay the most taxes. This is saying who is paying the most taxes.
The vast majority of the taxation in America comes from the wealthy. I mean, it's just a basic fact.
Well, Dr. J, if you can let you got anything else, I'm gonna go ahead and let you go. We can wrap it up. We
Hello?
are reaching.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I
you got
couldn't
something
hear.
else. Go ahead.
I couldn't hear y'all the whole time. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I was saying I can't hear y'all and apologizing the whole time.
Okay, so yeah, so basically the top 1% pay 31%, and then the top quintile they pay 25%. Altogether they pay 56%. And this isn't who should pay. This is what's being paid.
So I think you're not understanding what I'm trying to get at, and I'm gonna try to explain it in a different way. If we're paying our proportional wages, which is the way the federal tax works, right? It doesn't make sense for the top 1% to be able to pay 30%. That's what I'm getting at.
How much should they pay?
It should be
What do you mean?
proportional to your income. That's all I'm getting at. If we're
It's
saying that it's that way, it's going to be proportional to your income. That's what I'm getting at. So if I'm able to, with tax loopholes, take advantage and pay 30%. However, if you compare the income of someone
no,
making,
Dr. J. 30% of all of the tax revenue is paid by the top 1%.
yeah, that doesn't make
30%.
sense.
What do
Yeah,
you mean?
and I'm explaining to you that doesn't make sense for the top 1% to only pay 30% of all tax revenue. That means we, the proletariat, are carrying this country through our tax burden. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. That still means that we are covering it. The 1%, if it's proportionally, it doesn't make sense. We're never, and if we continue to have mismanagement of funds, we're going to continue to see the same issues that we have. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I didn't hear everything you said. I had to get up, but Pirate, if you want to respond to that,
Go ahead, Pirate.
I muted you, Pirate. You got to mute yourself.
Yeah. No, I mean, just again, we have a progressive taxation, and the vast majority of the tax money that is brought in to the federal government is paid by the wealthy, and we have tax exemptions where many of the poorest people don't pay any taxes at all. It's just that's the tax code that we have. So you understand. So look, we have a nation of 350 million people. So the top 1%, 3.5 million people. Those 3.5 million people pay over 30% of all the taxes that are coming in. The other 346 million people pay the other 70%.
Okay. Well, I'll keep it moving, y'all. Appreciate you pulling up, Justin.
Yep.
Yeah, Pirate shit. Your mic is going crazy, bro. Whenever somebody else talks, it's just buzzing really bad. But
yeah, I know what it is. I don't hear anything. But
okay. Well, either way, y'all, we are about to. Either way, we are about to shut it down. We reached the 2.5 hour mark. Appreciate y'all for pulling up to Big Ox and Pirates America. We will catch y'all again next week. Please leave a comment if there's anything in particular that y'all want to get into. any questions y'all got that y'all want us to specifically answer, we'll be more than happy to. Yeah, catch y'all next time. Pirate, any words?
Yeah. All right, fun show. Thanks for everyone coming up, and yeah, this is starting to heat up. I think we got about 75 days till the election. So,
and once again, I want to remind y'all that me personally, I'm not an expert on politics. I'm not an expert on economics. I'm just an American citizen here to speak my piece on how I feel about what's going on. Y'all make sure y'all click on this link so that you can do the same. We want to hear what y'all got to say. That's what we're here for, y'all. Till next time.